Wouldn't be a Torah service without a few words of Torah, so we have the esteemed honor of welcoming our Darshan to the Bima now, Rabbi Joshua Stampfer.
Okay. Fine.
I'll take this one from you. Let me keep that one, so you don't have to hold it.
Well, nice to see all of you. And I don't have the words to tell you how I feel of gratitude and joy to be here with you on this occasion. Obviously, I did what every rabbi does, what I used to do for year after year. Comes around Wednesday afternoon, what am I going to talk about on Friday night? There's so many different topics. So I decided that this afternoon, I'm going to discuss a subject that I would never have dreamed of talking about 70 years ago. I was reinforced in my thinking by going to the annual meeting of the Institute for Judaic Studies that is led now by Dr. Sylvia Frankel. I looked at the program. Almost everything looked quite familiar to me. It was an annual meeting. There were going to be elections. And on the agenda was election for president, for vice president, secretary, treasurer, just like it was 70 years ago. Then there was an election for the Institute webmaster. I wouldn't even know what you're talking about 70 years ago. And they're actually voting on a webmaster. So I want to talk about a topic that 70 years ago, as a rabbi, I would not have discussed. But I think it's really the most important topic that any rabbi or religious leader can discuss today. There's a prayer that you're all familiar with, the Aleinu. The reason you're all familiar with it is that as soon as we stand up for the Aleinu, you know that at the end, we're going to recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Embedded in the Aleinu are these words: L'taken olam b'malchut Shaddai. That is the responsibility of the Jew, which is upon us, Aleinu, to fulfill, to repair the world in the divine auspices. What a supremely important task that is. That the Jew is not only concerned about the survival of Judaism, but about the repair of the entire world. "70 years ago, I thought I knew what that meant. What's the entire world? All the people of the world. Therefore, we have to repair humankind. We have to do our best to erase war. We have to do our best to erase disease. We have to do our best to resolve poverty. We have to improve the world, which means we have to play our role in taking care of all the people of the world. And if there's a disaster somewhere in Africa, I'm far removed from Africa. I don't have a single member of my congregation in Africa. But I have to play my role in dealing with the tragedies that exist there, or in Asia, or in Europe, even in Antarctica. L'takein olam b'malchut Shaddai. I, as a Jew, have a responsibility to repair the world under divine auspices. Everybody in the world is a part of my responsibility, not just fellow Jews, not just fellow Oregonians, everybody. That's what I thought the word olam means. Not anymore. The word olam now, 70 years later, means the actual earth on which we live, the actual air which we breathe, the actual water which we drink. That's the world. And I want to share with you that one of the saddest days in all the world's history is what happened in my lifetime and in your lifetime. And that was the day when the President of the United States departed from the World Conference on Climate Change, the only major power in all the world to walk away from that problem which threatens the entire world. That's not the America that I ever conceived of, but it happened. Scientists all over the world have been warning us of the dangers of climate change. In very simple terms, and I'm really a simple guy. I've gotten simpler every day. Just about reached my limit. But you know what that makes me think? What if one of my children, I don't have to add the word beloved children. If one of my children woke up in the morning and we took its temperature, and the temperature was already way over 100, what would I do? If I didn't call the doctor right away or rush him or her to the hospital, I would be derelict as a father. Right now, at my stage in life, I didn't choose to do this, but I take my blood pressure every day. The doctor demanded that I do that. Well, again, one day, that blood pressure was way up from what it had been the day before. I take myself to the hospital and to the doctor. Something is vitally wrong, and we have to do something about it. That's what scientists have been telling us. There is something vitally wrong with our world. Climate change. The world is becoming warmer. Terrible storms are now part of our life. Droughts, hunger are so widespread in this world of ours. After all these centuries of life, if we couldn't produce and distribute enough food for every single human being in the world, something is terribly wrong. Climate change is a symptom. There are other symptoms. I hesitate to even think about what this world is going to be like if I live to be 140 years, which I'm not. But we cannot produce in this world so much waste without it's affecting our world. Like an individual human being produces waste every day. When I was stopped up for a day, couldn't produce the waste, couldn't get rid of the waste that I was producing, I'd have had to call up David Menashe, my doctor, in the middle of the night. Because otherwise, I couldn't live another day. We are producing waste constantly, burning fuels, producing materials that simply have to be taken care of. Now, we can do as we do at Hanford. You dig pits and you bury the fuel. You can create walls to keep people out that we consider to be human waste. That's an awful thing to do. And we're doing it. I wouldn't have talked about this 70 years ago, but I'm really sorry to say that when I had to pick a topic to talk about today, that's what I picked. And I do want to do what rabbis ought to be doing and what they are doing. They are joining a large mass of leaders in our country to turn our attention to solving these problems and not making them constantly more severe. You know what that means? Instead of building walls, we ought to build schools. We ought to intensify the development of our skills in solving these problems. The human mind is extraordinary. There's no question in my mind that if we devoted ourselves and our resources to tackling these problems, we could solve them. But what is missing is the resolve. And that's what rabbis ought to be doing, strengthening resolve. It's sort of my contribution to the panel. And they'll tell us a few more things. I'm proud of the role that our congregation has played over the years. I'm grateful to the congregation for all that they have done to help make this a better world. Keep doing it long after I'm gone. Thank you.
Hand
יישר
up.
כוח.